Good morning all, and welcome to the first NDEC webinar of Wales Tech Week. Due to the current situation, myself and colleagues will be delivering this session from a number of locations with a mix of work from home and social distancing here within the NDEC building. It's the first time that we've delivered a webinar in this way, and we will be showing some slides throughout the session also. So, my name is Leanne Connor, and I work for Thales as the Business Manager here at the National Digital Exploitation Centre in Ebbw. Some housekeeping before we start. Just a reminder to our speakers, if you could mute when you aren't speaking. And for all attendees, it is suggested that speaker mode is selected for the session, during which you will be automatically muted. There's a chat function available, and I would encourage you to enter any questions as we go through, which we will pick up at the end. Alternatively, there's a button in which you can raise your hand during the Q&A to ask a live question, for which we will unmute you. So, for those of you who haven't yet come across what we refer to as the NDEC, it's a unique project bringing together industry expertise, academia and government. Okay, so the NDEC is a £20 million joint investment between Welsh Government and the global technology company Thales, with the University of South Wales also on board as a strategic delivery partner. The aim of the investment is to create a centre of cyber excellence right here on the former steelworks site in Ebbw, which will act as a regeneration catalyst within the Tech Valleys region and wider Wales, and enable Thales to grow its presence in a previously untapped area. Within Wales, we're very fortunate to have a very healthy cyber security ecosystem, which was a reason for Thales actually locating in Wales in the first instance. So, how does NDEC support transformation in the Tech Valleys? We provide cutting-edge research and development opportunities, supporting businesses to achieve maximum benefit from digital transformation, which is secure and trusted. And this becomes particularly important in the current situation that we face today, where remote working is becoming more and more common, meaning increased levels of security are required. So we want to develop technology and services that enable secure and trusted digital growth and improved cyber resilience. Importantly, we also have a focus on building a pipeline of talent through our education programme. We want to ensure that young people from within the Tech Valleys region are equipped with the right skills and behaviours to be successful and meet future needs of employers in an increasingly digital and connected world. So what I would like to do today is introduce you to each of these areas and provide an overview of what the activity and achievements to date. As I mentioned, at the end of the session, there'll be an opportunity to ask questions, and I'll also provide contact details for anyone wishing to have a further discussion regarding opportunities to work together, how we might further develop, or any other ways you would like to get involved in the project. We're particularly interested to discuss other initiatives to ensure that NDEC is complementary and avoids duplication of effort, to ensure that we add even more value and bring further benefit across the region. The first delivery pillar to be discussed is our project zone, and I'm delighted to introduce my colleague Kirsty Perrott, one of the NDEC cyber security engineers. Over to you, Kirsty.
Thanks, Leanne. Hi, my name is Kirsty Perrott, and I'm a PhD student working for Thales at the NDEC. The focus for NDEC is, as Leanne said, protecting our critical national infrastructure and operational technology. Now, what that means, OT can be classified as any system outside the enterprise IT network, and is commonly referred to as industrial control systems, or ICS. And many of these systems support critical services that enable us to go about our daily lives, such as transport, emergency services, water, energy and health. And that means the systems that keep our trains safe, that keep our power stations running, allow us to do our online banking, and more recently and more importantly, protect our NHS Wales computer systems from hackers, for example. Whilst this evolution brings many advantages to our society, there is a growing threat to the cybersecurity. And since working with Thales, I've done many OT engineering activities, and my skills have developed rapidly. So during my first 2 weeks at Thales, I was flown to the USA, where I spent a week performing an OT assessment at a large industrial plant. Just to reiterate what I just said about the importance and the growing threat to cybersecurity of OT. So alongside Thales consultants from the UK and Canada, we performed an OT assessment, which typically involves a site survey and asset discovery, which determines any assets held at a plant. And we try to capture any net flow traffic by passively monitoring their network. We also try to map many of these logical assets that we find during the passive scan to their physical location and present them in a Visio drawing, which is often referred to as a logical or physical topology. And this helps customers quickly and easily locate the assets that we may later discuss in the cyber report. And at the end of the assessment, we report any urgent findings to the company immediately, with any other observations typically presented in the final report. The industrial plant we visited in the US, so pleased with the work we completed that they scheduled further OT assessments with Thales for their other plants dotted across the globe. And that pretty much sums up some of my case studies and my role at the NDEC. And I'm going to hand you back over to Leanne at the NDEC to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirsty. Okay, so despite Thales being a global business with a global supply chain, we've committed to investing locally. And since January 2019, have spent approximately 1.5 million within a 30-mile radius of the site, predominantly with SMEs, a really important factor when looking at the economic regeneration of the Tech Valleys area. However, our work with SMEs doesn't stop there, and I'm now pleased to introduce my colleague Alex Mees, our Sales and Business Development Lead, to explain a little more about how we can support SMEs in their digital transformation journey.
Hello. So I'm just going to pop this in. Okay, sorry. Yeah, my name's Alex, and I'm the Sales and Business Development Manager here at the NDEC. As Leanne already mentioned, the NDEC is a joint collaboration between Thales and Welsh Government, and as part of that, Thales has made a commitment to the Welsh Government to actively engage and support local SMEs to help them grow and develop as a business, thus improving the Welsh economy. So the NDEC's aim is to equip businesses with the skills and knowledge they need to win a greater share of large regional and national projects. The NDEC will connect major technology centres across the UK and globally to act as a catalyst for digital training and research. It'll assist businesses in executing digital transformation in a safe, secure and efficient manner. So as part of this vision, we've developed a number of core services that are essentially free at the point of use services to Welsh SMEs that cover a number of different areas in relation to digital transformation and innovation. So firstly, we've got the Trusted Partner Network. So the NDEC intends to build a trusted network of Welsh businesses to ensure safe trade and collaboration, encouraging growth in the Welsh digital sector and forming a non-commercial business consortium. Basically, through our engagement with local SMEs, we'd like to be in a position to say, if we can't help, we can point you towards the direction of someone who can. Next, we've got the digital security evaluations. A business can only truly have confidence in their digital and cyber resilience if they take a holistic view of things. This means that their people, networks, and products must all contribute to the overall security of the business. IT security spending alone doesn't necessarily safeguard businesses. You must also invest the time and effort needed to assess your organization's security health. The NDEC can support this by conducting either a business security evaluation or a product security evaluation, which would include things like a vulnerability assessment, which can identify weaknesses in your systems that threats may target, or from a product point of view, we can audit hardware or software by testing lines of code or memory management, for example. Next, we've got cloud and IT transformation. So many businesses may not have the personnel or skills to make IT or OT investment decisions. NDEC can provide experienced advice to clients seeking to take advantage of digital transformation, but not know where to start. After a review of the business, our team will provide a customized report with recommendations to inform the client's decision-making processes. These recommendations could include things like moving to a cloud-based IT service or looking at software as a service offerings. And then lastly, we have got the digital security and cyber awareness training. So this is a versatile training program that we've developed of what we call a non-deep technical nature to essentially upskill technical and non-technical individuals with the knowledge and skills they need to protect themselves and their business from cyber threats and cyber threat actors. All content follows the NCSC guidance, and they're intended to teach about cyber essentials, ensuring that the trainees can demonstrate the basic level of security to an upstream supply chain. So those are the 4 core services that we're currently offering. And if you do want any more information on that, by all means, ask any questions or contact us afterwards. Before I do hand you back to Leanne, I just wanted to share a couple of examples of where we're currently working with these local SMEs. So firstly, we're currently working with a company that are using a web portal that is storing data that's being extracted from a piece of physical equipment. After initial meeting with them, we're now carrying out a security evaluation of that web portal to assess its cyber resilience and see if we can find any vulnerabilities within that. And secondly, we're working with a company in the sports industry to develop the product they currently have. But not only are we supporting them in that development, but Thales are also exploring ways in which this product can be used in other sectors or industries, and even in conjunction with some of our own products. So that really fits within the whole trusted partner network piece. So that's it from me. Thank you very much for listening. Hope that's given you a brief insight into the core services, and I will hand you back to Leanne.
Thank you, Alex. And as Alex said, if you are an SME looking for support, looking to do work with Thales, please contact us. Not only are we here in Wales, but we're also a front door and a shop window into the wider Thales. So that brings me on to our 3rd pillar to be introduced, which is our research and development pillar. We're currently working with a number of universities, and we're always keen to explore new relationships and opportunities. So now it gives me great pleasure to introduce my colleague, Alex Tarter, Chief Cyber Consultant, who's going to discuss some of this exciting research work. Thank you, Alex.
Great, thanks, Leanne. All right, hi everyone. So, as you can see, there's a couple of the different areas where we're really focusing on more of the cutting edge stuff in regards to cybersecurity research. One area, as we talked about already, resiliency. We're getting pretty good at building more and more secure systems, especially IT systems, but we're not so great at building systems which are resilient against attack. What that means is even the slightest bit of a small vulnerability or or somebody who compromises an attacker gets in, what damage can they do? When we think about critical infrastructure like power systems or autonomous vehicles, we don't really want a single attacker being able to cause catastrophic damage. So how do we build these systems to keep on delivering the services that we need out of them at scale, but also resilient? So that's one key area we're really looking at and exploring a lot. Part of that work, we have Kirsty, who you heard from earlier, looking into what does even resiliency mean. I think it's a concept which we understand implicitly, and we can sort of wave our hands around and say, okay, that looks resilient, but there's not a good grounding in actually what are the characteristics of resiliency. Another area is risk. We're getting pretty good at understanding how to do what we call component-based risk assessment. That is breaking a system down into its small components, looking at what is the impact due to an attack on the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of that individual component, and then trying to build it all up. And that enables us to create really, really resilient, what I think of as bricks, but it doesn't tell us a lot about how secure or how resilient the wall you build out of those bricks are. So you can still use really, really strong bricks, but create a wall which is easy to knock over. And that's kind of what we see at Systems at Scale is you can understand what are some of the implicit cybersecurity risks, but you can't always determine what are the emergent cybersecurity risks. When you bring it all together at scale, you start adding humans in, you start adding multiple different types of systems together. So that's one area of research we're really excited with in NDEC, is to focus on complexity and resiliency. As part of the range that they have there, the ability to actually test some of these concepts out at scale with real equipment and see where we go. The other side is obviously identity and security primitives. So we've put all these computers together, but it'd be really good if we could trust them. If we can trust the device to do the things we want it to do and can communicate with other devices, and those other devices could also trust the device we're talking to, it'd be great. We can actually start building a lot on it. So if we have strong enough foundations, you can build quite a complex system on top of it that you can at least rely on. But actually building trust and building identity into devices is really complex. We start thinking about how do we identify humans, and either that's biometrics, but even then when it comes to identifying a human to a computer, in addition to using biometrics, we also store stuff in our brains. We have passwords, which we remember. It's really difficult to crack open a human head and find out a password from their memory, but it's not so difficult to crack open a computer and read out the password that you store into it. So there's a whole load of complex new concepts that we're sort of bringing in and looking at from the zero knowledge proofs, physical and clonable functions, zero trust models that we really want to start building into real world systems. These things work great in theory and academia and are just starting to take hold within the enterprise world. And we really want to use some of the capabilities of the NDEC to start taking those through, introducing those to new businesses and really helping them how to actually employ this at scale in a real world system and build a whole complex cryptographic based system of trust. And then the final one is modeling and simulation. Again, it's really difficult if you think about the aspects I'm talking about resiliency and identity. You can do this on paper pretty well. You can have a pretty good idea, but it's when you actually take it out into the real world, you start playing around with it, that you realize these emergent systems, these things that you never quite thought of, the bits that you went, oh my God, I didn't realize that at the time. Oh, I should have remembered that. I should have realized that. Those only really come out when you start modeling and simulating and exercising. So having something in the, like the range at NDEC enables us to really provide and perform real world modeling and simulation, which is pretty outstanding. It's pretty good. It takes a few bit of a concepts and allows us to run at them. So those are kind of the three big areas that, from a Thales perspective, we're really excited to be doing at NDEC: complexity and resiliency, the identity stuff, and then modeling and simulating. And you see in the bottom right-hand corner, we're working with a number of different universities. I promise you, we are happy to work with universities whose colors, university colors, are not red. It's just pure coincidence. They all happen to have red backgrounds. But if you are interested and you have some really good ideas about this, we'd love you to get in touch. And you see down at the bottom there that we have a number of different investments that we have made in NDEC and our research. So currently, Thales is sponsoring 5 PhD students, 2 master's students currently, and we still have a couple of outstanding master's courses sponsorships available. We also employ 2 academics to act as our head of research. So they're the ones who are engaging with other academic institutions looking for customer-funded and research-funded R&D, and really helping us build this out and be able to translate the academic world into the business world, into the real world. So I'm excited by this. So I'll hand back to you, Leanne.
Thank you, Alex. So Alex has talked about future development in industry, and I think we all appreciate that the jobs of the future are currently somewhat unknown. So finally, and possibly the most important pillar for us here at the NDEC, and specifically Welsh Government, is a focus on skills. The skills required to meet the current and future needs of employers, and to ensure that that skills base is actually built in the Tech Valleys area. So on that note, I'll hand over to Holly Lidbury, who's employed by University of South Wales, a strategic partner in the NDEC project, to deliver our education programme. Thanks, Holly.
Thanks, Leanne. I'm just going to share my screen with you. Okay. So just to start this off, as Leanne said, this is a really important strand of the NDEC project, and I feel really lucky to be able to work on it because I think, it's a really unique situation that government, industry and academia have all committed to developing skills and investing in education alongside this, because ultimately, you know, it is our responsibility as well. So part of the education outreach stream, I basically explain it as, you know, the NDEC is there to support that digitalisation in the region through cybersecurity, and the education and outreach stream sits within that to address the associated skills requirements. Now, we see this in two different strands. So the first strand is about increasing the number of people who are actually undertaking employment or study within the industry. So kind of addressing those skill shortages that we're seeing in the sector. But the second strand is then kind of the cyber awareness and the personal cyber hygiene that people need in an increasing digital world. And that's for individuals and SMEs. And then we have split that up into 3 different objectives in order to guide our activities in a productive way. So the first principle is about actually maximising the number of people who are aware of the cybersecurity industry in Wales and who then become interested in it. So what I'm finding at the moment is that I'm still going to schools and talking to teachers, and when you ask, you know, what industries do you associate with Wales, a lot of people still say like coal and steel. So this principle is about kind of overturning that and getting us to a point where when you ask people what industries do you associate with Wales, cybersecurity is one of them, because we're really fortunate to have such an established and healthy cyber ecosystem here. So that's kind of the first task. We then want to convert that into an intention to enter the industry. So on top of all that kind of general promotion, I guess the marketing bit, it's about then getting people doing activities so they go, okay, like this is for me, this is something that I want to aspire to. And then that third facet is converting that interest into actually going out and doing it. And part of that is actually expanding the pathways into the industry. So we don't want to funnel people through one route, because that's kind of counterintuitive to getting the most amount of people into the industry. So we're looking at how we create different routes into the industry in response to the need. So just to give you an idea of kind of the activities that come under each of these strands. So this is part of our kind of inspiration and awareness activity strand. We work very closely with the NCSC Cyber First programme. They have some amazing competitions and workshops which do a really good job of inspiring students, and we're trying to increase that uptake in Wales. So this year just gone, you can see in the picture at the bottom that we did some taster workshops in schools around Wales. We took 4 schools from Blaen y Gwent all the way to Gloucestershire for the event that you see at the top called Empower that Cyber First put on. And then that actually culminated in an increase in Welsh sign-ups for the competition. And then we sponsored and hosted the semi-final at the USW National Cybersecurity Academy. So that's kind of an overview of one event that we've taken from kind of the bottom top to increase that uptake and get more people interested. We've also kind of collaborated on other NCSC initiatives. You can see the Adventurers Workshop, which is just like a taster of cyber for them. We've done events with Brownies, which is the top there. So we're working with, you know, children as young as 7 to get this idea that cybersecurity is here in Wales in the minds of the smallest people. And then we do kind of like school workshops as well, as you can see. So then that second bit, that intention to enter the industry. So this is an example of us working with a youth project called Go Connect. And they work with people who are not in employment, education or training, but who have pre-existing digital skills and interests. So these are people who, you know, have really developed digital skills, they're really passionate about it, but they've kind of fallen off the pathway. And what we've found is that the cyber industry is a really, really good way of saying to people, hey, like, here, get back on this pathway, because it kind of, they can relate to that skill set. So we developed this program. It was a 6-week program. It gave them a taster of the cybersecurity industry, and from that we actually had 2 people apply for our Thales apprenticeship. So it's just, again, kind of getting it out there, but then showing people, okay, this is the next step, like this is how you can act on that. We recently, obviously because of the lockdown measures, we had an event plan called Cyber Horizon. So this is kind of the next facet of, or the next step in our work. You know, the younger age groups, it's about getting that interest up. But then from kind of year, I'd say 8 onwards, it's about saying, but here are the employers, here are the routes in, here's how you do it. So we had an event with Cyber First called Cyber Horizons, which was for exactly that. We had a lot of employers and organisations who kind of overlap with cyber in Wales, who were delivering talks and challenges in the university. Obviously that had to be cancelled, so we moved it online. And I know you can't click on this, but if you put cybersecurity industry in Wales into YouTube, you'll be able to see this. But we had so much support from employers and organisations across Wales. So thank you for everyone for that. But yeah, that is kind of part of that next step that we're going into. And then as part of the Expanding Pathways, Thales has recently been involved in something called Cyber College Cymru. So this is developing an apprenticeship pathway, a BTEC pathway into cyber with 2 colleges, Bridgend College and Coleg Gwent, as kind of a trial to see how it works with that employer engagement as part of the course. So Thales, Admiral and Fujitsu will be assisting with delivery on that. It's a very exciting initiative. USW are also now implementing their degree apprenticeships in cybersecurity. And we are offering bursaries and apprenticeships within Thales. We should have 2 apprentices starting with us from September. So this is kind of the start of the work that's being done. But we are kind of mapping how to do that further now in response to what we're seeing as are the issues. And a big part of that is obviously engaging with industry and academia, and anyone who kind of has insight into this. So the final thing that I'd like to say is, you know, if you're watching this and you're interested in kind of collaborating with us on the education stream, then please do get in touch, because, you know, the more involvement that we have from the actual industry, the more value we're creating for these students, and then everything we do will be in direct response to something, as opposed to just kind of coming up with it and seeing how it works. So yeah, that's basically it. I'm just going to stop sharing. And thank you. Back to Leanne.
Thank you, Holly. As you will have heard, lots of work going on within the education environment, and I think importantly, you know, a message from me is that it's really never too early to learn about cybersecurity, but it's also never too late to consider a career in the cyber industry. If there is anything that you're interested in, then please do let us know. So hopefully you now have a feel for the NDEC purpose and the activity that we are delivering. So as mentioned, we do have a number of other events organised throughout the week, which we would love for you to join. So before moving on to the Q&A, I'm just going to show a few slides, and hopefully it works this time. Go. Lucia. Okay, so any inquiries, please send them through to our generic email address, inquiries@ndec.org.uk. You can also follow us on Twitter, and we've recently established a LinkedIn page also. We also have a YouTube channel. We also have an app called Thales Cyber Lab, which actually takes you into the building and into our very exciting cyber lab within Ebbw and a 360-degree look around the room, and gives you an overview of the kind of work that that room is intended to do. So we have a talk by, again, Alex Tarter on Wednesday with regards to emerging cyber threats in business. And then on Thursday, we also have a live demo where we're looking at how operational technology is vulnerable and how it can be protected. So now we'll move on to the question and answer. Firstly, answering questions that we start by development. However, if you do have any questions, please use the Q&A function or put your hand up using the hand up function. Okay, so we have a question from Ben Roberts, currently looking for job opportunities in North Wales. And do we see any opportunities coming to North West Wales? Okay, so Thales is a global organisation with quite a large UK base. We are investing in Wales, and Ebbw is the first Thales base in Wales. However, we are working with Welsh Government to look at other opportunities across Wales, which potentially will involve the north. So one thing I would suggest is that you have a look at the cyber webinar that Holly mentioned a little earlier, to look at the wider opportunities across the sector, but also drop Holly a line on the inquiries email, and we can look at supporting you directly with that particular question, hopefully to get your career started. Okay, another question from Robert Alexandra. My business registered office is in Wales, where I did have an office. I now live in Devon. Would I be eligible for support? I think it's always worth asking the question. We can, we'll always speak to business regardless of where they're from and what their issue and challenge is. So again, I would suggest, Robert, please get in touch, and certainly we will see, if there is anything that we can do. And if it isn't the NDEC that can help, we can point you in the direction maybe of another organisation that could. So please do get in touch via the inquiries. Okay, so reverse question from Holly to everyone. Is there anyone out there in our audience today who would be interested in getting involved with the education work? We would be really, really pleased if anyone could contact with regards to that particular work stream. There's a huge amount of work to be done, lots and lots of individuals to be reached, and the more help that we can have, the better, and the more coordinated that help via Holly, then the more impact we can have. So if there are any more questions, please ask away. We are sat here available.
I'm just going to take this as a sign, as we were really good speakers. Everything. Oh, will attendees get a copy of slides, and can we share email addresses?
So absolutely, we can send out copies of slides. I would like to reach out to everyone that's registered for the event this morning. You know, and we will send an NDEC pack. Anything specific, any particular pillar or work stream that you are interested in, then let us know and we can send you the relevant information. We can certainly share email addresses. So as well as the inquiries email address, what's the best way to share our email addresses? Yeah. So in the packs, we will send email address for all of the speakers today. But if you know, or we can actually type in our email addresses into the chat function if anyone wants it today. Thank you very much for those that are sending positive feedback, that have appreciated the session. That is really good to hear. We do use an old-fashioned phone number, and again, we can put that in the pack. Not an issue. Or individually, I'm happy to give my mobile, so that's not an issue at all.
Leanne, one question for me then. When is NDEC going to open up for other people to come and visit? If people want to actually physically come around due to these weird times, how do you actually go visit it in person?
Okay, so we've currently set up, I think we've been quite sort of forward in the return to some kind of normality. We are back in the office, socially distanced in place, but we also have a meeting area set up where we can hold meetings of potentially up to 8 people, you know, and we can comply with the regulations. So we are open for visits, but they would have to be planned in advance. So I would suggest, you know, anyone wanting to visit, please get in touch and we can look at how we can plan that and, you know, fit in with our customer engagements and some of our other partner visits and meetings. So not an issue for us to look at that straight away. It just might be some time for us to plan over the next couple of months.
And what's the coffee like?
We're actually renowned in Ebervale for our coffee. We invested in a very nice coffee machine. I'm a little bit of a coffee snob myself, so coffee's always nice and always plenty of it offered. Thanks, Alex. So the recording, okay, the recording will be with us soon, and we can send a link to that recording, or the recording, or we can put it on YouTube, which could be shared straight away. So in answer to the one question with regards to forwarding the recording to colleagues, then that can be done as soon as it's available. Certainly, the recording can be shared on the hub. Not an issue at all. The more the message is shared within the wider networks, then, you know, hopefully the more impact this project can make in Wales, and specifically within the Tech Valleys region. So happy for any information to be shared in whatever, using whatever media, and also, you know, if there are colleagues that would like to speak to us direct, then we can pass, you know, please pass on our contact details. So Alex has shared his email address, which you'll see is actually the Talis Group email address rather than NDEC, which is the best way to get in touch with Alex if you are an SME, or indeed with any other inquiry. If Alex can't answer, he will certainly pass to the relevant person.
I will indeed.
Thank you very much, Debbie, for the message with regards to digital resilience in education. Great to see that we are already engaged. And yes, we really look forward to working with you in terms of driving cyber resilience education in Wales. It is a really important focus for us. And as Holly mentioned in her slot, we're already making an impact with regards to the take-up of cyber competitions, the Cyber First Girls competitions in this particular area with, I believe it was Tredegar Comprehensive School, Holly, that got through to the semi-final.
Yeah, so one of the schools that we did the taster session for, Tredegar, they'd never taken part in the competition before. We did the taster session, we took them to Empower, and they made it through to the 10 semi-finalists, and then I think they came fourth. So, you know, that's a school in Blaenau that otherwise wouldn't have taken part in that competition. And two of the girls that were on that team, they do it in teams of 4. They've actually now opted to take computer science for the GCSE choices. So, you know, big benefit of doing stuff like this is if you catch them at year 8, they can then make choices which will kind of positively impact their career trajectory then. So really, really happy about that.
Brilliant. And from an NDEC perspective, you know, the support that we provided was, you know, that coordination in terms of entering the competition and actually sponsoring the bus to take those pupils back and forth to the university. So something quite simple for us as a business to do, but actually something that meant an awful lot for the school, and had it not been done, then that participation wouldn't have occurred. So that's the kind of impact that we're looking to really increase specifically within this region. So yeah, so well done to Holly and all of the work that she's done there. And hopefully from September, you know, when we have an additional member of the team working on education, you know, we'll be able to reach out more, engage with more schools, and actually deliver more activity. And one other thing to mention is that we're also having, in terms of the building we have here in Evervale, we are developing more space where we'll have a specific education environment with immersive technologies. So somewhere that students can come and really experience the immersive side of technology, digital transformation and cyber, and the importance of the industry. So that's something quite exciting that should be happening over the next 12 months. So, and as I mentioned in my initial words, you know, TALAS, this is the first TALAS base in Wales. It is a joint partnership with Welsh Government and University of South Wales. It's a 5-year project. However, you know, the ambition is for, at the end of those 5 years, for us to have developed a pipeline of projects that will keep us in South Wales and grow the business. There really is an ambition to grow the TALAS business in this particular area, which, you know, personally for me, I live in the area, is, you know, something really exciting and fantastic to be part of. So that's really good news for Blaenau Gwent, Tech Valleys and South East Wales and Wales as a whole. Oh, sorry, just reading down the comments. Thank you very much, Steph. Really good to have the feedback. And Janet, thank you very much also. And, you know, just to reiterate, please get in touch if there's anything further we can do, either to help or to inform, or any potential collaboration opportunities. One thing that I suppose we haven't covered is the wider community side of the NDEC. Yes, we're looking at skills, we're looking at projects, technology, but we also really want to get that message out with regards to being safe online. And for those, as I mentioned, it's never too early to learn about cyber. And with, you know, increasing social media and, you know, children being younger and younger accessing social media, you know, today, then, you know, we really want to help get that message out to parents, to schools, to, you know, to young people, how they need to consider their security when online. So that's another quite important aspect of what we are trying to achieve. So we're due to be online until 10:30. So I think, you know, we'll remain on the call. until that time. So any further questions, please send them through and we will answer. In the meantime, thank you very much to all panelists. Really appreciate your help. And thank you very much to all attendees. Hopefully we've really given you the message. Sorry, 11:30. I did mean 11:30. I'm an hour out. Do apologise. So we'll stay on the line until 11:30.
So what's it like in Wales there, Leanne?
It is not as nice as yesterday, but not as bad as it can be in Evervale. I think what could be useful, Kirsty, the demo that we're giving later in the week, do you just want to give a bit of an insight into what that demo actually shows?
Yeah, of course. Try my best. So it's a two-part demonstration that we've got Thursday. My colleagues Natasha and Rob Brody are doing the demonstration. So basically the first part of the demonstration is involving OT kit, and in particular the Thales train sign that you see often at Thales, at any train stations around, especially in Evervale. The first part of it will show how you can pivot and manipulate a computer into the IT network. So the first part of it will be hacking the IT network to pivot into the OT network. And then from that pivot, you can get into change and amend the train sign. And it basically just shows you a nice little fun image just to say, you've been hacked, please contact, and then they put a telephone number. It just goes to show the severity of what could happen. I mean, if you've seen some train sign hacked when you're stood at the station, you definitely wouldn't want to get on the train, that's for sure. So it just goes to show something as small as that can make a big impact. And then the second part of it is of this demo is the WannaCry, whereby when they get into the IT systems and then into the OT systems from that pivot, they then release a WannaCry attack, which we all know from, I think it was 2017, when the NHS basically got taken down across England and some of Wales. And that just goes to show the different, and we also got a solution to that then, so to show you how you would prevent that from happening, not just by using the typical firewalls, but by also segregating the IT and the OT network, so that if it was going to impact something, it would typically just impact one of either or, and also patching as well. And then we've got another demonstration that same day that talks about another OT pivot, which is a phishing email. The good old phishing email examples, because they're still out there, believe it or not. And this part of it is education, and also different products that could prevent you, or different ways and solutions that could prevent that from happening. So basically this one is us pivoting a live hack into using a phishing email, getting one of the engineers that we've targeted to download what he believes is Windows updates, and this is on a Windows 10 device, and then from the Windows 10 updates, it's actually a malicious file that gives us a backdoor in on his computer. We then use his computer, he's the engineer, to hop or pivot into the OT network. We take over a physical Siemens HMI and a Siemens PLC, and you can see us controlling the OT network, where we then blow up the fake factory, if you like. And you see some flashing lights, so hopefully nobody's epileptic. Some pretty flashing lights and some buzzers going off just to alarm you, but it's just a brief demonstration of what could happen in an actual plant. And that's it, I think.
Thanks, Kirsty. So hopefully everyone will be able to join us for the demo later in the week. Another question has just come through from Lewis M5. Is support for businesses limited to those in specific areas of Wales? So in terms of the NDEC project, we have a commitment to support SMEs and business within South East Wales. However, As I mentioned earlier, we are happy to talk to any business and provide support wherever we can. Obviously, which is practical for us as a business and within the terms of our agreement with Welsh Government. So, please get in touch wherever you're based in Wales. The NDEC is here to support, and we will always have that initial conversation to establish, what it is that we can do to help you.
Yeah, so just on the back of that, we actually did attend the Emerging Tech Fest that Technology Connected put on in January, and that was in North Wales. So we have already spoken to a lot of businesses within that area. So it's not just for South Wales. We will speak to anyone within the area and see how we can support them.
Thanks, Alex. Okay, so there don't appear to be any more questions coming through.
We should do a quiz, Leanne.
Yeah, we
quiz questions.
should.
I'm up for that. I love a quiz.
Brilliant.
Okay, so once again, thank you to all of the panelists. I think we'll bring the session now to a close. Hopefully all of the attendees have learned something from the last hour and look forward to having a future conversation with you all soon. Thank you very much.